The original Bioshock Survivor difficulty can be incredibly tough, especially if you're a reckless player like myself. However, you'll be able to beat it with these 10 tips that I'm about to share with you within this video. Are you going for the Platinum Trophy or trying to get all of the achievements on Xbox and PC? Let me help you in achieving that goal. All I ask is that if this video helps you in any way, shape, or form, simply click subscribe. That would make my day, and I would very much appreciate that. Now, let's get into the video. The first tip is probably one of the most useful that I can possibly give you when starting your Survivor difficulty playthrough. I cannot emphasize this enough. Make sure you start your playthrough on New Game Plus. The main reasons for doing so are to carry everything over from your previous playthrough, whether it's your weapon upgrades, tonic upgrades, plasmid upgrades, your atom count, etc. This one simple action and this one simple choice will basically give you a huge head start going into your Survivor completion journey. Now, keep in mind, New Game Plus, you need to have a Fontaine save point loaded into your system. So, if you need to know which one in specific, it's the one where you basically start the boss fight. So make sure on your previous playthrough, you have that save point actually saved onto your system. Delete all other saves, hit New Game Plus on the menu, click that Fontaine checkpoint, and let the Survivor difficulty journey begin. Secondly, this ties in with tip number 1. I'd highly recommend that on that previous playthrough mentioned, to max out everything that you're personally going to find useful or everything that you think you're going to use in your Survivor playthrough. I'd highly recommend maxing out your health and Eve as quickly as possible. Following that, I'd recommend doing the same thing with your gene tonics and plasmids. Both of these mechanics are going to be very instrumental when it comes to dealing with enemies such as splicers and big daddies. So make sure you know what you want to use on your Survivor playthrough beforehand and upgrade them as quickly and as much as you possibly can. And also your weapon upgrades. That goes without saying. Speaking of gene tonics, here's what I recommend for tip number 3, and we'll go a little bit into detail. Make sure while choosing your gene tonics for each slot that you're choosing the ones that will not only benefit your own personal playstyle, but will also benefit you within the game as well. I'll link all of the gene tonics mentioned in this section and how to get them down in the description. Now, let's start off with your combat tonics. First and foremost, Armored Shell 2 is simply a must-have for all damage reduction within the game. The second tonic I'd recommend is Damage Research 2. Not only will this give you an added benefit during your playthrough, like damage boosts to specific enemies, but it'll also increase your overall research by around 60%. Trust me, researching comes in handy, especially in the later stages of the game. The third tonic I'd recommend is anything that further reduces damage, like Armored Shell 2, except this will be for the elemental aspects of Bioshock. For example, Human Inferno 2, which reduces heat and fire damage, or Electrical Flesh 2, or Electric Flesh 2, which drastically reduces incoming electrical damage. Combining those 3 mentioned tonics gives you the highest odds of repelling as much damage as possible. The final combat tonic that I'd say is a must-use is Machine Buster 2, which will allow you to significantly output more damage to machines such as security turrets. Next, let's move on to the engineering tonics. For these, they're more based on what type of player you are, so choose whatever will benefit you the most personally. If I had to recommend a few that I consider a must-run, I'd say Alarm Expert 2, Clever Inventor, Focused Hacker 2, Hacking Expert 2, Shorten Alarms 2, and Vending Expert 2. These are the personal most beneficial for me, and I'd highly recommend that you try them out too. Again, do what is going to benefit you, the player, the most, because when it comes down to it, it's all based on your own personal playstyle. Now, here's the most important section of tonics, in my own personal opinion: physical tonics. With these, I'd strongly recommend prioritizing your health and Eve. So with my recommendations, I'd go with Eve Link 2, Eve Saver, Medical Expert 3, Natural Camouflage, Security Evasion 2, and either Extra Nutrition 3 or Hacker's Delight 3 if you enjoy the hacking in Bioshock. All of these will give you the best odds of keeping your health and Eve levels at healthy states in your playthrough. For our fourth tip of the video, we'll discuss which plasmids you should consider using. Again, this will be determined by what type of player you are, but I'll give you the most important and most useful ones that should be in everyone's arsenal. First, we have to go with the absolutely incredible telekinesis. It has multiple uses. It can be used as an offensive and defensive plasmid. It's great for catching projectiles like grenades and rockets to throw back at enemies. It's incredibly effective by blocking bullets if you hold something like a dead splicer or Big Daddy in front of you. And it's borderline broken when throwing heavy objects at enemies like a dead Big Daddy. The sheer amount of damage that telekinesis can provide is a must-use plasmid in any playthrough. Security Bullseye will be your next best friend if you're in a situation where you're surrounded by enemies and machines. All you need to do is throw your Security Bullseye at a target, and all of those machines will attack that target, allowing you to either get away and heal up if needed, or just reload if you have to reload. Then we have two obvious damage over time and stunning plasmids, that being Incinerate, more specifically the upgraded ones, which will constantly do damage to an enemy by setting them on fire, and Electrobolt, again upgraded, by causing extreme electrical damage to a target while also stun locking them for a period of time. You could also use Winter Blast here, but I find the other two more useful personally. The last two I'd highly recommend to allow yourself to think smarter, not harder. Those are Enrage, which basically will piss off any target you throw it at. Just make sure you throw it into a group of enemies and take cover. Allow them to fight each other while you save your own resources. And then we have Hypnotize Big Daddy. On Survivor, being able to control arguably the most powerful enemy in the game and causing them to be your ally is absolutely incredible. Definitely make sure to consider these plasmids while selecting your own personal plasmids in your own playthrough. This next one will be very quick, yet very important. It'll also flow nicely into the sixth tip. So as mentioned towards the beginning of this video, I recommended starting your Survivor playthrough on New Game Plus to carry everything from a previous playthrough over to the new one. Well, if you don't have all of your weapons fully upgraded, which I also mentioned earlier, I'd highly recommend finding and using the remaining Power to the People machines and finishing the upgrades on all of your weapons. If you need a guide to remember where all of the Power to the People machines are located, I'll leave a link to a video down in the description. Go show him some support. I'm sure he would greatly appreciate it. If he's still around on YouTube, that is. Now, let's talk about the most important weapons you should be using, especially when fully upgraded. Your three best friends on Survivor will be the fully upgraded crossbow, which outputs a ton of damage to an enemy, especially on headshots, and you can combine that with Electrobolt as well. Number two is the fully upgraded chemical thrower. Not only are the freezing and flamethrowing aspects an added bonus and synergize well with certain plasmids, but the electrical portion of the chemical thrower puts big daddies down very effectively. The only downside is that you have to constantly make sure you have enough ammo to swap in between the 3 different types, and the reload is a bit on the slower side. Your third must-use weapon is the fully upgraded shotgun. 3 incredible types of ammo, quick reload, large ammo reserves, and it shoots extremely quickly with said amazing reload. This is a great weapon to get a ton of damage output in a short amount of time. The other 2 weapons I'd highly recommend using as well are the fully upgraded grenade launcher, that's self-explanatory, and the fully upgraded machine gun, just simply for the fact of armor piercing and anti-personnel rounds. If you're running low on ammo and then find yourself in a do or die situation, you still have your trusty wrench. The only weapon I'd recommend to stay away from, if you can, is the pistol. For me personally, it seems that it just doesn't do enough damage to warrant the use of it. I'd say if it's a do or die situation and you're not comfortable using your wrench, obviously use your pistol, but only if you absolutely have to use it. This will be yet another quick and crucial tip that I can give you, and it ties perfectly with the second recommendation as well, and it's also kind of obvious. In order to obtain a lot of the upgrades and damage boosts to enemies, you need to research them using the research camera, obviously. So, while going throughout your playthrough, make sure that you're researching every enemy that you possibly can and take multiple snapshots of that same enemy in order to maximize your total amount of research as quickly as you possibly can. Trust me, this comes in clutch later in the game. And of course, make sure you always have enough film to do your research. Again, I cannot stress this enough. Researching enemies, especially enemies like your splicers and your big daddies, or even the security turrets as well, is a huge added bonus, and it will pay dividends towards the end of the game. I can promise you that. Now for tip number 8, here's one that I honestly should have mentioned a lot earlier in the video, and again, it's more of a Captain Obvious type of recommendation. Make sure you take your time with this playthrough. You're not trying to prove anything to anyone except yourself. You are going to be your own worst enemy. So, again, take your time. You don't need to rush anything. You don't have to complete it all in one day. You can sit down in multiple sessions and complete your Survivor playthrough. And the most important part of this is, especially if you try to continue to play, if you're in a bit of a death loop and getting frustrated, it's only gonna make it worse. Just take your time, relax, enjoy your playthrough, and I guarantee you everything will work itself out. Trust me on that one. Now, here's one of the last important things I'll be sharing with you within this video. And if you take away anything from this video and its entirety, please take this tip into consideration for your own personal playthrough. I will guarantee you this is going to help you a lot more than you think, and it's about the Fontaine boss fight itself. Don't overthink this part of the game. Honestly, this quote-unquote boss fight is rather easy once you realize there's 3 stages in it. First, keep in mind there's a ton of explosive barrels all throughout the boss arena, so take advantage of them as needed. Obviously, use your telekinesis, and you can either throw them at Fontaine if you need to, or you can throw them at the splicers that spawn in at various points during the boss fight. Secondly, let's discuss his first damage phase, where he takes reduced damage to fire and explosive-based ammo. The best 3 things you can use in this situation are electric gel, electric buck, and electro bolts, as electricity seems to be the most efficient way to damage him at this point. After going back to his podium and draining the atom with the little sister syringe, it's time for the second phase, which is ice-based. Here's where Incinerate, those explosive barrels, the flamethrower aspect of your chemical thrower, and explosive buck come into play. Use all of these to do as much damage as quickly as you can against Fontaine. Also, security bots will be spawning in during this phase, so if you still have security bullseye, make sure you throw one on him, and his own turrets will help you attack him, so that's a huge boost. Once again, after draining the atom, it's on to the third and final phase, electricity. This final phase is where you essentially unload everything that you have left on him. Grenades from your grenade launcher, shotgun shells, anti-personnel ammo, everything. At this time as well, splicers should be in the arena with you. You can use your Enrage and have them help you for a limited time as well. Once you take his health all the way down, and once you drain that final bit of atom, you did it. Now, as far as the final tip is concerned, now take a deep breath, relax, and soak in the fact that you have just completed Bioshock on Survivor. Once you're ready for the next challenge, we'll tackle Bioshock 2's hard mode in another video. But as for now, I want to congratulate you on completing Survivor on Bioshock. Well done. Well everyone, I do hope this video helps you accomplish what you're setting out to do. If you have any other suggestions for anyone else, feel free to share those down in the comments section below. If you're new to the channel and either enjoyed the video or found it at all useful, I'd appreciate a like and a subscription to the channel if you wouldn't mind. If you want to stay up to date with me outside of YouTube, my social medias are the best ways to do so, the links to which are down in the description below. With that being said, thank you all for watching, take care, stay safe, good luck on your Survivor playthrough, and I will talk to you all in the next video.